What's going on, everyone? It's your guy Cole Jackson back here on Road Graders, brought to you today by Underdog Fantasy. We're going to be diving into the Baltimore Ravens pass game, taking a look at some of their fundamental issues. If you're looking forward to this breakdown, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, drop a comment down below, let me know what you guys think, and I can tell you what I know I'm looking forward to, and that is that Underdog just dropped prediction markets, spreads, totals, and team outcomes, and the best part, you can combine them with player picks for bigger multipliers. Sign up today with code ROAD and get and make a $5 fantasy entry to get $100 in fantasy bonus entries. Prediction markets are live now in 25 states, including Texas, California, and Florida, and Underdog is available in over 40 states with player picks and draft games. Prediction markets, player picks, all on Underdog. So we have quite a bit to talk about here. The pass game has been anemic since Lamar Jackson returned, and it's one of those weird things where I'm going to be very clear, I don't think it's because Lamar Jackson returned. It struggled basically throughout the entire year, but to get Lamar back, is seemingly when you thought he was going to be healthy and still have it be such a struggle has been very concerning. And we're going to take a look at some of the causes from this game and from this Jets game. And like all things, when we do one of these breakdowns, everyone's looking for what's that one thing that we can fix. Is it the O-line? Is it the play calling? Is it Lamar? Is it, it's never one thing. And I'm not going to try and bend a narrative here. I'm going to show you what I think the key problems are. We're going to take a look at kind of three bulk ones. We're going to take a look at the scheme, the offensive line, and the fact that Lamar's missed throws, and that's just the reality. And he doesn't look himself. He doesn't look healthy. He doesn't have the same explosiveness when he goes to move. And I think it's starting to show some of the limitations that Lamar's athleticism has covered up with this offensive line over recent years, where they've been performing well, not giving up sacks, that sort of thing, because of Lamar's mobility. Obviously, the influence that has on the defensive line, where you'll get more contained rushes. Now that Lamar's a little bit limited physically, you're going to get them teeing off a little bit more. So I want to start with what I think the first issue was, and this is really I thought Todd Monken did a really good job adjusting, but in the first half, a lot of issues with the play calling. And what the Jets were doing was a lot of cover two and cover one man looks. And so what you're going to get here to start this one, so you got a trips right here on the wide side of the field, and then you got Mark Andrews here on the backside, and they're just going to run a simple mesh against man. So right here you can see it's starting to look like we're going to get a huge crumple of players here in the middle of the field. You see all three of them, and they're just running simple mesh, right? So Zay's going to run the under, DeAndre's going to run the high, Mark's going to run through here. And to complement this, they have Justice Hill out of the backfield who's running out into the flat. And so the whole idea here is that Mark's basically going to be, I wouldn't say a rub route because it's not that close, but he's trying to disrupt that defender, and he kind of does right here, the guy on Zay Flowers. And so that's where you'd expect this throw to go. So you can see right there, typically we'd see Lamar get this out. So I think it's a combination of things, right? So the scheme, everything's in a little tight here, but then you see the left side of the line when you go back and look at it, because initially I'm like, okay, why isn't Lamar throwing this with anticipation? You do have this defender right here who's following the flat really high, but typically he'll throw that into a tight window. But then when you rewind and you watch the left side of the offensive line, you see Andrew Voorhees get thrown and then Lamar gets run into. And so I think what's happening here, again, is a combination of things. We have, mesh against man, which took a little bit to develop because we had to run from the trips right here. So we didn't have in tight where we're running this and that's getting open a little bit. It's running from the wide side of the field. So, and I do think the route does its job because Zay Flowers has some separation here if you throw that ball on. But I think this pressure here from the backside, from his blind side, causes him to hesitate, mixed with this defender staying high. Usually you'd see that linebacker drop down a little bit. He's not necessarily going to chase Hill, but he'll usually drop down and clear that out so that when Zay's running into that, because you got that defender right there kind of freezing that throw. So again, a combination of many things leads to this sack. I don't think that this one is a case of Lamar not getting the ball out because, Andrew Voorhees loses very cleanly here. You can see it clear as day right there. He starts to lose right there. And so Lamar can't even step into the pocket. That's one of the issues with that interior pressure. And Lamar takes another hit. So the mesh concepts weren't doing a ton of favors. I'm just grabbing the other angle here so you can watch Andrew Voorhees dead on. You see right there, pretty quick loss. And you can see the mesh concepts coming overhead. So as Zay starts to open up, so there's Zay crossing Mark, right? So right here, Lamar's got to wait till he clears that a little bit because of the mixture of defenders in here. And at this point, you already have Andrew Voorhees, who's going into tabletop. God, that's embarrassing. In pass pro. So he's, look at this loss. Just clear as day, and then Voorhees just kind of stays down. I don't know what he's doing. So again, mixture of a whole bunch of things going into one issue. You're going to see the mesh issue again here, this time against zone. And this was, I didn't clip all of them because I didn't want to, get too redundant. But here you're going to get that mesh concept. So you get the cross here of Mark Andrews, DeAndre Hopkins, but it's against zone, right? So you got these zone defenders, the guy coming over top as he's going to bend in. It doesn't work as well with cover 2. And this is actually going to be a variation of cover 2. It's just red 2, where you're going to get the corners that are typically up here. They're just going to drop down a little bit. That allows the safeties to play a little bit tighter. It's called red 2. It's cover 2 in the red zone. And so when they do that, it just creates that a little bit of tighter coverage in the middle of the field because the safety can step up here. He doesn't have to play as deep because he's got the natural boundary back here. So he can cheat up, and just running mesh against this just doesn't really work. They have 5 across here, and there's not really anywhere to throw the ball. So Lamar's going to scramble, try and get away. And then there's just kind of that, you see the little slip right there. This is where, when Lamar takes off up the middle here, this is where traditionally we'd see that explosive speed. And, he's probably not going to house this or anything. And it is third down. You can see the third down marker right there. He's got about 5 to go, where he's got that wide side of the field. And typically he'll be able to get pretty darn close. And he just doesn't have that explosiveness to take off, which I think is the toughest piece to see. Another issue here, we're trying to rely on this heavy play action with the crossers. So this isn't quite mesh, but it's going to be, it's basically play action with a crossing route coming across, and they're going to get caught in zone coverage again, where these zone linebackers are going to read, run, and then fit back. So right there, see 44 jump back. So as he jumps back, that's where this play is going to go. And they're asking Mark Andrews to block Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson claimed that he owned Roger Rosengarten. I certainly didn't see that on film, but he does own Mark Andrews here. So there's, again, the combination of pass protection and the scheme. So right here, as this is going to open up, what we're trying to do is really hit, there's only 1-2 routes to hit here. But Mark Andrews is getting driven back into Lamar. He has to try and step up. He looks back, trying to find something, scrambles for 1 yard. It's kind of like one of those chase down pseudo sacks. So again, combination of the scheme and the pass protection, letting, there be issues in the pass game. And a lot of this is people saying, Lamar's got to get the ball out. Lamar's got to get the ball out. I do agree in a game like the Lions game, a little bit in the Kansas City game, but I'm not sure that's been a fundamental problem here lately. Another one here. So again, they're trying to use these rollouts, just aren't as effective because what they want to do, and again, I'll give Jermaine Johnson credit here. He plays on the backside very responsibly here. So they're trying to get him to wash down, right? So they want him to kind of cut up. They already did that end around with Zay before this play. So they want to get them flowing towards Zay Flowers so that when we run the boot here, there'll be somewhere to go. And they want Keaton Mitchell to get open into the flat. This would just be a quick check down, but again, they adjust to this really well. I'm not sure this is necessarily guys not getting separation. This is just, Jermaine Johnson playing very responsibly and good man coverage there on Keaton Mitchell. Lamar has to throw that away. So some of these quick concepts off of play action, they're not selling the run fake enough and, trying to run crossing over routes, and the Jets are just sticking with it. So, the scheme's really not doing it for them. This time they do get Jermaine Johnson sucked up, but again, we're going to see them here in cover 2. And so when we're trying to hit this over route off of the boot, they're just going to blanket. So you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. Those defenders are just going to play cover 2. And right there, they're playing responsibly. They're not sucking up to Lamar there. Boom, boom. And then you got 2 defenders taking away that throwing lane. And then you got 1 defender freezing deep with a safety lurking to try and jump up if Lamar throws that one. So Lamar's going to just wisely try and go for a scramble. There's your fifth. Didn't see him because of the banner. There's your fifth cover 2 defender. So they did have 5 across. So again, when you're trying to, run some of these boots, some of these play action rollout concepts against cover 2, it's just not working. So I think what Todd Monken did a good job of, a lot of these kind of came in the first half, where I think they have 75 yards in the first half. Like, it was a pathetic offensive performance. But then you start to see this get dialed up a little bit, where they started to find some answers. And so right here, really good example. So here's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So there's basic cover 2. You got your 5 across, your 2 high. And this is a typical cover 2 beater, where you get that deep in-breaking route from Zay Flowers. So he's just going to come in, run that in-breaking route, and boom, right there. Over top of the linebackers, underneath the safeties. That's how you want to attack this. This one, they're running cover 2 beaters here, but they're going to get cover 3 on this one. So Zay, again, is going to run that deep in-breaking route. Brandon Stevens is going to kind of fade off of him. And you see there's 1, 2, 3. This was your robber defender in cover 3. He's going to try and come back to Zay, and Zay's just going to find that soft spot. Lamar delivers a dime. Good play action, or good pass protection in the back off of the play action look. Right there, Lamar stands in tall. And I mean, if you give him some time, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if the offensive line could just hold some of these blocking concepts, I think we'd be cooking with gasoline. But the offensive line has been such a problem that you're not giving your scheme much of a chance, because guys are losing so often. And like I've said in numerous videos, I know you guys are sick of me talking about it. I'm sick of talking about it. It's not always the same guy losing. It's always, a little bit different. Another one here, DeAndre Hopkins is going to get them against man. He's just going to run an in-breaking route, and this is what we need more of. So there's no separation here. It's just going to be Lamar throwing this up so that Nuke can make a play, and there he is, making a play on third down. That was on third and about 4. See the marker right here. He's just going to make a play. And so, there are plenty of examples of Lamar making tight throws here. The pressure comes a little bit later here. I think Daniel Falele gets owned this time. See him right there. Javon Briggs had a hell of a game in this one. Almost the exact same play, and then Lamar takes a little bit of contact there at the end. Like I said, the pass protection, it's just such a constant problem throughout these videos. And then another really nice zone beater right here, just Lamar throwing this quick hitch and Lamar hitting him in phase. Just a super quick hitter, boom, in for a first. I just throw this in to separate it. But within all these, we got to acknowledge Lamar Jackson did miss some throws. He had a bit of a tough day himself. And I think it's dishonest to not acknowledge that. Right here, you're going to get hit. This was the play with Mark. So they're playing, in that cover 2 defense. So there's that cover 2. You're going to run into this empty spot of the zone. So, whether or not this is on Lamar, it's on Mark, I'd have to go back and watch, because the reason that I would have expected Mark to continue is this is a pretty empty island. So usually that cover 2 defender would be back a little bit more, and it would form that line across. He sucked up on DeAndre Hopkins here. If you look at DeAndre Hopkins' route, so DeAndre Hopkins is just going to run like a spot route. So he's going to just sit in here, and that's where he grabs this linebacker's attention. So by doing that, when Mark's going to run this crossing route, that's going to grab that linebacker, sit him here. Mark's going to come across. So I personally wouldn't expect Mark to necessarily sit in zone, because there is this defender, again, is usually more back here. That's when you'd get Mark to sit. So I'm wondering if Mark is breaking and he's seeing that defender up there, and he's like, okay, Lamar's going to throw this onto me, not sitting in zone. But it usually is a rule of thumb to sit against zone. So this is one of those concepts where I would need to know kind of how the Ravens are teaching it. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not trying to bullshit you guys. You can see it from this angle. You can see the linebacker 56 over there. The banner's in the way. So, I mean, you can blame it on execution. They're not on the same page. Whether you want to blame that to Lamar, to Mark, whatever, it's an execution issue. Here you're going to get Isaiah Likely motioning down, and Lamar's just going to miss the throw. Simple as that. Lamar throws that outside. Isaiah Likely's there as a little check down on second down. I believe it was 2nd and 10. Not a huge deal, but, he misses the throw. It is what it is. Another one here off the play action. Lamar's going to throw this out. Now, this is an execution issue on Zay Flowers, not on Lamar Andrews. I kind of grouped execution issues together. This is a dot by Lamar Jackson, actually. So as he throws that outbreaking route right into the breadbasket. Zay's at the sideline. Big gain, nice gain, but Zay Flowers drops it. So absolutely not on Lamar Jackson there. Again, group execution errors together. DeAndre Hopkins with the double move at the top. The banner's in the way. Sorry about that. But this is that double move that you can kind of see Nuke absolutely destroy Brandon Stevens on, and Lamar just misses the throw deep into the end zone there. Those are tough because, he's throwing that double move, but again, those are throws that we've seen Lamar Jackson make a number of times. But then you get plays like this where Lamar is just dialed, right? So there's that Devontae Walker, and Lamar just throws this very well placed, actually, because he can't really lead him too much because of how he's angling towards the sideline. So he kind of throws it back a little bit right there. See, based on his route, if he keeps leading him, he's going to lead him right out of bounds. And if he leads him upfield, then it takes away from what his pattern was. But this is just a really nice route by Devontae Walker. Look at right there. Fake that inside move, cut back outside, and Lamar puts it where he can catch it. I saw some people saying that was underthrown. I don't think it was based on the route path that he took, because right here, as he breaks, he's bending that back out towards the sideline. So if he throws it again more upfield, you've got the boundary right there. You're kind of playing with fire. I'd rather him throw that into this little island where Devontae can catch it, and we're still sitting on a big gain. So that was just kind of my 2 cents on that one. Lamar, nice throw there again. And then obviously we have the protection issues, which I've kind of sprinkled throughout the video because it's so rampant, but just a few more here. So this is kind of our third piece that we're looking at. And this one I kind of struggled with. Is it a Lamar issue? Is it a protection issue? Because it is cover zero. And you could argue that this ball should come out here as soon as that blitzer comes. You're throwing, you want to throw into the blitz. I could live with that. I could live with that for sure. So, if you want to put that on the protection, that's a free rusher right there. They're running cover zero, so Lamar has to throw that hot. Lamar escapes and then throws that ball away. So, again, no issues with that. Here you're going to see Tyler Linderbaum get driven into, Falele out there throwing a high five up, and that player opens up 97 here to kind of cut through. And so Daniel Falele being outside, Linderbaum getting pushed back, them not handling this interior line game, because it turns into basically a stunt. There you get the penetrate right there from Briggs. You're going to get the wrapper there. They don't handle that at all. 97 gets his hands up, and this ball that floated into Mark Andrews that I thought was just really poorly thrown, it actually got deflected there by 97, and Mark couldn't catch it. If this is a typical Lamar bullet, there's Lamar throwing that against zone. Like, that's exactly what you want, right? So you want him back of the end zone and, throw that up for Mark Andrews. How many times has he done that in his career? But they don't handle that stunt well. 97 gets his hands on the ball. So even though it's a deflected pass, that's still coming off poor protection. Again, we're sliding. We're not handling that stunt well. Andrew Voorhees back on the ground. Falele's on the ground. Just chaos with this pass protection unit on the interior. So that's what I have for you guys. Those are kind of my breakdowns of the issues facing this. So I do think it's a multi-pronged issue. I think the offensive line needs to be better. I think Lamar Jackson needs to be better. I think Todd Monken needs to adjust quicker. And, I'm less blaming the receiving guys. Obviously, the drops aren't good. That's one thing I didn't talk about early, but there's been a number of drops this year that I just feel like we haven't seen in the last few years. I think it might just speak to the overall anemic look of this offense, but it's definitely crept up, and it's been pretty impactful, especially when you're not throwing the ball a ton. But at the end of the day, the fundamental issue, I've made no bones about this in recent weeks. It hasn't really changed. The pass protection needs to be better for this offense to take any sort of step, and that includes even in the run game. A lot of this sits on the shoulders of the offensive line. Until they're better, I have a hard time believing this offense is going to be better. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring. And as always, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.